Okay, so we're just going to go over what we went over in class today. It isn't a lot. It's just basically expanding on what we did with this table. So very, very easy. So I'm just going to move that to the side. So the same principles that we kind of covered with this, we cover with anything like a basic rectangular square kind of table. So I'm just going to make a super basic square table with a little bit of details, a little bit more ornate than what we probably might find in our scene, but it's good to know about this kind of stuff. So it's a square table. Where do we start off with? A cube. So oops, why is my settings set to that? So yeah, we just make a nice cube like that, and then I'm just going to set it to translate x, translate z to 0 as per usual, like that. And with my width and height, I get to decide how big it is. So I'm going to go for 2 meter wide by 5 centimeters deep by 2 meters. So yeah, so it's a somewhat sizable table. And I'm going to raise it up a little bit. Cool. So this is just going to be a flat tabletop. I'm not going to have any recesses like with glass, like I did with the round table. But I'm going to make this again a little bit more detailed than just a straight up basic thing. Now, what I went over in class is common mistakes I tend to see a lot of people make when they're making tables, and the biggest one is that they add the edges in for everything. So they basically build everything as one big solid unit, which isn't totally great because it means that we're adding a bunch of edges in at the top that we don't really want to do, and then when we actually bring out our legs from the bottom, we're just bringing them out like this, boom. And yes, there are some tables that look like this. Sure, you can argue that. However, not really, because they will have some kind of framing on the inside. This table would be too weak because there's nothing to brace it on the inside, or there's no supports on the inside here. Again, just have a look at tables and have a look underneath them when they're large like this. There'll be some kind of bracing, some kind of structure. But what I'm doing here is not do this, so I'm not going to make the whole thing as one solid piece. Again, I'm going to think about this whole thing as I would do if I was actually making it. So we've got a piece that's on top, and then we've got underneath on this piece, then we might have some kind of supporting structure, let's call it. So what I'm going to do for this one is just do what I did for the round table. I'm going to make a little subframe underneath. So I'm going to extrude that in like that. Again, just like with the round table, extrude it again. So now what I've got here is this little frame of faces. So I've just extruded in twice then. And then I can just extrude that down, and then that's giving me my little support, and I can decide how deep that is. Very, very good. Cool. And then what I'm going to do is let's make this a little bit more ornate, seeing as we're here. So I'm going to start using bevels. Some people might be familiar with bevels already. Some people maybe not so much. So bevels are really useful when you understand how they work. So I'll demonstrate on one edge here. So I'll just bevel this one edge, and what it does is it takes an edge and it will split it into two at an angle. So this is a 90-degree angle. From here to this face is a 90-degree angle. When it splits it, it creates a split, and then it creates a 45-degree face in between, basically the halfway. And in here, in the little toolbox it gives you, you've got fractions, which basically makes it bigger and smaller. Segments, adding segments in. And then depth is fun, because depth allows you to actually bring it in and out, like that. And the other settings we don't really need to worry about. But what happens if I just bevel one edge like this, is I create n-gons at the side. Now I've got a shape that's more than 4 sides, and we want to make sure that the shape that we're using has 4 sides, or 3, mainly, like ideally 4, but we can get away with 3 on flat surfaces. So this is a no-go. That's nothing to worry about if the edges we select go round and meet each other again. So this is a loop of edges going around the top. So when I bevel this now, there is no n-gons, because it goes all the way around. It's a complete loop. It's only an n-gon, it's only a problem if I don't take it all the way. So if I just bevel these two edges, I'll just bevel these two, but then it's going to create on either side here and here an n-gon. Now, when it comes to more intermediate and advanced modeling techniques, you can make n-gons all day. You can make some pretty dirty geometry as long as you fix it. So I make a lot of n-gons when I'm modeling, knowing that I'm going to fix it because I'm basically setting up geometry to do something with later on. Because I've been modeling for a long time. I know how to basically prep my steps ahead of me. Well, all I'm going to do is just give myself a little bit of an ornate kind of coved roll kind of thing. So I'm going to bevel the whole top of this like that. And then I can just add some segments there. So I'll add 2 segments. And then I will, using the depth, I'm just going to move it in a little bit. So now I've got something that's a little bit more ornate. Very, very nice. And I'm just going to bevel this bottom edge here again. But this one I'm just going to leave as a single bevel and just make it a bit smaller. Something like that. And I'm just doing that just to make it a little less harsh and sharp. So now it's a little bit softer rather than a super sharp edge. Cool. So that looks quite nice. Dead simple. We get a nice little shape there. You'd expect to see that in some kind of fancy place. Now what I'm going to do is actually bevel on each side the corner from here down to here. I'm not going to take it any further because I don't need to bevel down here, but I'm just going to take this and I'll do that on every one of those edges. Just taking your time going around, just selecting. Oops, a daisy. There we go. So that should be all 4 sides selected. Cool. And I'll bevel that. And this is quite nice because you can create some quite nice shapes with bevels. If you beveled all the way, like this whole segment on each one, you could create like a really nice ornate table. So I'm going to do this, and then if I had segments, and then you can make some pretty interesting shapes. Again, look at this, we're making a massive n-gon in the middle, but at this stage I don't worry because I'm just about getting the shape in there. That's some interesting shape, but that's not what I want, obviously. I just want a nice, simple bevel, so I'll just deselect the edges that I don't want. Obviously, we've got to look at our reference for our scene and decide whether or not that table is appropriate for that environment. Again, don't just add stuff in because you want to add it in. We're going to learn to basically stick to a design brief. So if we don't see it, we're not going to add it. Right, that's all the sides done. Cool. So now, I'm just going to bevel these corners and it's going to bring them in to a bit of a corner like that. And all I'm doing there is just, again, taking away that sharp edge in each corner. I don't really want to have a super sharp edge. So now there, it looks a little bit more of a roll. But like I said, n-gons are being made all the time. So what we've done here is make an n-gon. So normally we'd have a 4-sided shape, 1, 2, 3, 4. But now that we've beveled each one of these corners, we've now got 8 sides going around. So in this one, I'm going to create, I think I've said in class, I don't actually like the geometry that this creates purely on an aesthetical level. Coming from the world of being a character artist, I like this shape to be I like certain types of shapes. I like everything to be nice and clean. But what I'm going to do, all I'm going to do is, say take this outside edge here, and then grab the opposite one on the other side, so this edge here, and then just go to Mesh Tools, Connect. And it creates that little face there. And then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. I'm only going to do it on 2 sides as well. So grab that one, then I grab that one, Mesh Tools, Connect, boom, there we go. And then I've fixed my n-gon problem now, because now I've got 1 quad in the middle and then 2 very thin quads at the side like that. Perfectly fine, it's all good. And now that's my table kind of done, or is it? Because one thing that, again, new modelers will always struggle with at first is when you're doing bevels, it's about understanding where all these different edges are being affected. So I didn't bevel all the way around to the inside of here. As you can see, we've got 2 edges there, and we've got a face there, and then it just turns into a single edge, and we'll have that on every corner. Now, if you just investigate that area, what we're going to find is, in vertex mode, you'll see you've got 2 vertexes either side, obviously, and then what seems to be a vertex here. Well, it is. It's not what seems to be. It definitely is a vertex. So you might think that this is now an n-gon in this area, but it's not. That's because there's actually a triangle hidden there. The bevel's created this triangle to assist in this creation. So every one of these corners has got this little shape going on, and fixing it is dead simple. We're going back to our days of the lamp modeling at the very, very beginning. So we're just going to use the target weld, which is this little icon here. So we're going to click on this little icon, target weld. Make sure you're in vertex mode and nothing selected, because if you have multiple things selected and you do this, then what you do is you pull all of them to that point, which is not good, obviously. So make sure you've got nothing selected, and then we're just going to pull that little middle point there to the destination like that. Boom. And we're going to go around and do that. Very, very simple. And while we're here, we might as well unfold the table once we've done this, because after this I'm actually done. I could go around and I could bevel these edges as well for the support frame, but I'm not going to bother doing that. Cool. There we go. So that's that done. So while I'm here, like I said, I'm going to actually unfold this section of the table. Now again, we can do this the exact same way we did the round table. I'm going to look for all the flat surfaces first. Where are the flat surfaces? On top. So we've got 3 flat surfaces on top. So we've got this one, and then the 2 faces either side that we took to fix that bevel. And then underneath we've got obviously this big plane in the middle. Make sure I have that little face there selected. So we have this face in the middle, and then we've got the faces going round, and I want to make sure that I grab these triangles as well. So I'm just going to make sure I paint through that selection. And there we go. So now what I've got is that top face, including those little thin faces that we created while fixing up that n-gon. The big underside, as well as all the corners around this frame going round, as well as these little triangles. So, how do we do that? Planar y-axis, isn't it? So planar y-axis, because it's a flat surface. These are flat surfaces, and they're facing either positive or negative down the y-axis. So y-axis, boom, there we go. And then if we move that to the side, we can just see that it's made up of your red and your blue. So all you have to do is flip the red, and we're good. Boom. Nice. So what's left? Okay, so we've got the frame underneath. So that's, for me, the second biggest part. So this frame underneath. So just like I did with the circle table, I'm going to grab it all like that. And I could either do this with a planar, or I could also do this with I could be very cheeky, and well, yeah. So we'll go through the planar method first. So I could go through, grab everything facing down, say like the Z-axis. So boom, 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 all these, and I can planar project these down the Z. Lay them out, move them to the side, and unfold them. Could totally do that. Absolutely. Another way of doing this is to select the whole thing and do a cylindrical unfold. So a cylindrical projection. So do a cylindrical, we get a big long piece like this. Big long piece. But again, the exact same thing as before. What I'm going to do is legacy unfold vertical, just like we did with the circle pieces. And then I get that. Perfectly fine, you know. Perfectly fine. This will give you slightly warped UVs, admittedly. You know, this will give you slightly warped UVs. But what you can do is do the planar projection to get it laid out like this, and then cut each one of these segments off into its own little chunk. So now that I've laid those out, I'm then going to separate them off. To then do a horizontal unfold on this one. There we go. See, now you see that then goes into this shape, which gives you perfect UV. So boom, perfect. You see these are slanted or skewed. So when I do the unfold horizontal on this one, it fits it up. So 2 completely fine methods. I can either get each side, so all the faces facing down the x-axis, I'll grab those, planar project those. All the faces facing down the z-axis, select those, planar project those, then unfold them. You'll get that. Or what I've done then is I've just done a cylindrical unwrap to grab them all, unfolded vertically, cut them up, unfolded horizontally. Pretty much the exact same amount of clicks. It takes the exact same amount of time. Just two different ways of doing it. There you go. I end up with the exact same thing. Now what should be left is the oh, pardon me. Shut up. I'm back and I'm wearing a hoodie. So what's left is our side bits. Right here. These sections that we did the bevel on before. These bits. Again, they're really, really simple. I'm going to go through and do those as like everything down the x-axis, everything down the z-axis. Dead easy. The difference being with these, because I've made that bevel in the corner, I have to think about this run of small faces from here and here. I've got to think about those. So what I could do is say this bunch of faces here. So then, I could say, okay, you know what? On this piece and on the opposite piece here, so on this side and this side, what I'm going to do is project those off with that. So I can grab these. So I'll have long UVs and short UVs when it relates to these side bits. You could do that. Dead simple. Or, what I'm going to do, and there's no wrong or right way on this one as long as it's a clean UV. What I'm going to do is select all these faces, and then on either side, so I'm going to do this side and then the opposite side, I'm going to grab the UVs on the right, or the faces on the right hand side. So like this one right there. So on this side, the opposite side, I'm going to grab again these faces, including this little thin one here, and then the right hand side one like that. So that all my UVs are going to be the exact same length, and on the right hand side of the UV you'll have a little strip of faces. And then what do? Dead easy. I just do a planar projection. What axis are we looking down? This is the x-axis, because I can tell I am covering it up, but in the bottom left hand side of the window you'll have your little axes. So planar projection down the x-axis, lay it out, there you go. Separate them into blue and red. So that's my red one. Let's flip the red one like that. And then everything that should be left, everything here should just now be whatever's left. So that's why I like doing this. I've said it a few times that when I go from my big shapes down to my smallest shapes, I'm basically cleaning up this UV space here from all the complex objects or the complex shapes down to simple little shapes. Till eventually, whatever's left is literally whatever's left on here. So now all I've got are these faces on this side and then these faces on this side, including these little thin faces on the side. So now these are Z. So I'm going to planar project down the Z axis. Again, my tools kit, click Z axis, project it. Job's a good one. Bring it up, so Daisy. There you go. Bring it over here. Again, separate the blue from the red. So that one. Flip that one. Boop. And now for this, all I'm going to do is once again, because it's wide, I don't want to affect the width of it. I only want to affect the height of it, because all the faces from the front, if we see, they're all a little bit of an angle. So this, I'm going to have to do a vertical unfold. So modify, unfold, make sure it's legacy, and then make sure it's vertical. And then these will all slightly adjust. Perfect. Right, so that's everything at the top of the table UV'd. All I'm going to do now is once again just apply that textile density ratio. So my textile density, I will set the main number, the number in the middle here to be 5.12. So 5.12 pixels per inch. Oh no, not per inch, sorry, per pixel. 5.12 pixels per centimeter on a 2048 map. So 5.12 centimeters, 5.12 pixels. So then I will set that. Boom. Oh, I'll do that on everything. Boop. So set all that. There we go. Oops, no, that's a 2048 map. I did it on a 512 map. Boom. There we go. So now this is 5.12 pixels per centimeter over a 2K map. then we'll smooth it to here. So leave it over here. All good. And I'm just going to separate stuff out a little bit. In fact, I don't need to do that. What I'm going to do is stack everything. Just so I know where it is. Because again, what we're going to do is use this trim sheet stuff. When we come to texture this, we'll be using trim sheets. So it doesn't matter where things are, as long as they fit in within that trim sheets area, you know, that's controlling that particular texture information. Cool. Awesome. Now what's left? Well, it's just the legs. Or leg, because I'm going to make one leg first and then UV that and then bring it around. So first of all, I'm going to start off with a cube, because if I'm thinking about a table leg, normally if we're thinking about old wooden tables, which I'm kind of basing this off a little bit, just because this kind of table will give me more information to model, this will have a block at the very top. As it attaches to the table at the bottom, more than likely it's going to be a block. Sometimes it is a cylindrical, like a straight up cylinder, but a lot of times it's a cuboid block. That's where I'm going to start my table leg from. And then I'm going to bring it down, and I'm going to start to make some semi-ornate information, not very complex. And then I'm going to end it with some kind of like simple cap at the end. And we've already done this as well, because you can think back to your lamp model. Because what I'm going to do is, right, I'm going to, that looks, yeah, already actually that looks pretty alright. Yep, that's fine. Right, so what I'm going to do is first of all extrude this in a little bit. And then, if you remember back, what I'm going to do is smooth this face in the middle. So once I've extruded in, I'm going to smooth it by clicking this icon here. Right here. Click it, and then that's going to turn this center face into 4. And then I'm going to circularize it by clicking this icon here, which will turn this square into a circle like this. So, no, we didn't do that in the lamp, did we? No, this is just another way of getting that shape. I think we brought 2 shapes in together and then deleted faces, then bridged them in it. Yeah. Okay, so this is just another way of creating that shape. So let me go through the whole process again. I thought we'd already done this, but we've not. So what I'm going to do is just extrude this in. And then this center face here, I want to turn into a cylinder. So how I do that is, one way how I can do that is, with that face selected, I'm going to smooth it using this smooth icon, which is the 5th icon along here. So smooth. Just click that once, because what that does, it subdivides this face into 4. So now we've got 8 edges going round. And then on the far right here, just to the left of multicut, you've got the circularize tool. It takes a face or a bunch of faces and tries to make a circle out of them. Great. Yes, there's some Ngon stuff information. There's some Ngon information here that I need to clean up, but I'm going to do that in a sec. Cool. So now what I can do is extrude down and start to create the rest of my leg. So I'm going to come down and I'm going to kind of play with this and kind of eyeball it. So it's going to come down. That's a frame, so it's going to come down a little bit. And I think we're going to do a smooth little shape here, and then we're going to come out a little bit here, and then we're going to come in and then out, and then maybe do something all the way down. Bring it in, and then I'm going to extrude out a little bit, then extrude down to the floor like that. Cool. Now this actually gives me, seeing as I smoothed that face so it turns into a circle before, this actually gives me an alright face to end with, because this is all quads, you know. This is all quads, and you can see here splitting an 8-sided face up is actually really easy. But if you have got something like this and it's an 8-sided shape, you can only really do this with things that are divisible by 4. Anything like 7 or 5 or anything, you won't be able to do this, just because you can't split those in half properly. But I've got an 8-sided shape here, so what I can do is take one edge from one side to the other, and then do the opposite side. So from this edge, this edge over to this edge. So now I've got nice 4s. If you've got more than that, or if you've got like 12 or something like that, you can't split those in half too well. So what I'm going to do is instead take this middle face, extrude it in a little bit, just so I'm exposing some new faces. So I'm just extruding it in, and then I can merge to center, which is the little orange icon right here. Where's center? There we go. And then I can just to be cheeky, do a bit of a bevel. Like that. Cool, so that's table leg. So let me do some stuff. I set up some stuff to do, so I'm going to add, I'm going to add one edge in here and then just bring that in, an edge at the top, an edge at the bottom, bring those in. Across here I'm going to add a couple of edges and then just bring them out a little bit, and in here I'm going to just extrude this whole bunch out a little bit, bring it in. Bring it in like that. That's quite nice. Yeah, and I'll leave it like that. Something nice and simple like that. So I don't need much. You know, my table leg isn't the most exciting element. I'm not too bothered about it if it's a little bit boring. It's a table leg. You know. In fact, I'm just going to make it slightly more ornate. Slightly. Like that. Okay. Slightly more ornate. Okay, so my very, very amazing table leg is almost done, but I've got to fix up the end guns that we made at the very top here, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's a 5-sided shape right here on each one of these sides. So that's a 5-sided shape. That's a 5-sided shape. That's a 5-sided shape. So each one of these sides is 5-sided. How we fix that is dead easy. What I'm going to do is create from this corner here. I'm going to come up to the middle and then down to the corner like that. So I'm making this kind of triangle pattern. So we're going to make a bunch of triangles, but like I said, on a flat surface, this isn't so bad. Also, this is kind of hidden out of the way, so if the texture was a little bit on the cheap side, it's not really that noticeable. We should always strive and endeavour to do our best, but sometimes there are corners to be cut. So there you can see how I've solved that problem of the end guns at the top by making this kind of star pattern. We would have seen this on the lamp as well. Very last thing is I've got a face at the very top of this, so I'm just going to get rid of that face. Don't need that. And through the modelling, what has happened as well is the whole thing's gone a little bit goopy. So you can see there, some of edges are hard, some edges are super soft. So what I need to do is bring back a bit of hard. I've got to have soft edges in areas where I need soft edges, hard edges where I need hard edges. So what I'm going to do, first of all, select it in object mode, mesh display, soften edge, so the whole thing becomes soft. I'm losing all my hard edges there. And then what I'm going to do is just select the edges I want to be hard. And I go to mesh display, harden edge, there we go. Select these vertical edges here, mesh display, harden edge. So now you can see that I'm starting to harden those edges. We're getting a little bit of geometry back in there. And I just got to go back and select all those. Now the last used tool was my harden edged, and if we remember, last used tool is G on the keyboard. So I can go around and just select the faces I want to be hardened. Hit G. There we go. And then we got something nice. There we go. I will have a look to see if we've got anywhere else we can do it on. No, everything else is fine. Awesome. So we've got our tabletop UV'd, and now we've got our leg to UV here. So the UV's there. Need a bit of work. So let's approach this. How are we going to do this? Well, I'm going to do this in chunks. I've got something that's very cubey up top. I've got something very cylindrical in the middle, and I've got a flat plane at the bottom. So I'm just going to get rid of this plane. So let me just select these faces going round. This is facing the y-axis, so planar projection, y-axis. Move to the side. And then the second easy shapes is going to be up here, like this. Now this is going all the way around, so even though it is cube, I could go and select these faces, planar project, select them faces, planar project. But I eventually just want this as a strip because this is only small, so I don't need this to be separate chunks. So what I want is actually this to be a strip that I can just texture a load of wood on top of. But you know what I can do on this one? I can do a cylindrical unfold on this one, or a cylindrical projection, because it's going round the object like this. So what I'm going to do is create cylindrical projection. So now what I've, even though it's cube, because this is basically a continuous texture, I'll just I'll cylindrically project it. And then I can unfold that one using the vertical constraint, and then perfect. So, you know, boom. Because then that's just a strip. And then all that's left is the rest of it. Oh, sorry, no, we got this bit, haven't we? So we got this little bunch of triangles inside here. So let me just grab that. This I'm going to do as a y-axis planar. So planar y-axis. Move to the side. Now all that's left is the leg itself, which obviously is a cylindrical projection again. And then we do a unfold horizontal, sorry, or unfold vertical, and we're good. So that's, again, that's the UVs pretty much done. The weirdest part of that was the fact that I did a cylindrical projection on something that was very flat. Because you look at this and you go, well, that's a plane, and that's a plane, and that's a plane, and that's a plane. So I'm going to do that. And you could absolutely do that. But the reason why I did that on this and not on... well, I did before, didn't I? I did do the projection going round on the top of the table rim, on the rim round table. The reason why I'm doing it on here is because it's a very, very simple shape. It's all right angles going round. There's no kind of kooky angles or anything like that. And, you know, it's a continuous shape going round. You know, never ends. So I could do this whole simple shape as a cylindrical, and then I get this. All I've got to do is just planar, unfold vertical legacy, unfold legacy vertical, and then I just apply all of this with the same settings in my textile density. So the ratio is 5.12, and the map size is 2048. So that's 5.1 pixels per centimeter on a 2K map. Scale it down, kind of bring them together. And then when I have everything selected, this is the entire table. Very nice. And then it's as easy as just making sure that, because we're building in the middle of the world as well, I don't know why my grid is not the right colour, so let me just get my usual colour going on. There we go. Now, because we've been building in the middle of the world, what I can do is DNX this to the middle of the world, and then just Control D, rotate. I'm holding J when I do this, J for Juliet, and it's going to snap to 20 to increments. So I can route that down to there, and then there you go. And then I've got that. And again, because I'm going to be using a lot of trim sheets, all I need to do is make sure these are together. So then when I'm actually applying materials, I can just throw these on. I can throw the particular materials on, be it a trim sheet, be it a tiling texture, and then I can move them around to be wherever they want to do. Oops, daisy, some stuff isn't quite right. So bring you on there, bring you on there, bring you on there. Bring you on there. There we go. Combine it, but you don't need to merge it because we just need to combine. So it's one selectable object. Make sure the pivot point's at the bottom of the underneath. So on the grid underneath, and we're perfect. Delete history, freeze transformation. Give it a name. So this will be my SM underscore square table. Square table. And that's it. And again, this can go over here. And you'd approach the other tables like that. Now, thankfully, a lot of our tables are quite simple in our scene. So we're not going to be dealing with any like crazy roll tops, any kind of crazy shapes. I think the craziest shape I've seen so far is an elliptical, or kind of like an egg shape table with a bit of a similar kind of frame to this, where it's, instead of being like an S shape, it's like one U shape to support the table. Must have been like a theme a theme set that they had. But you know, boom, simple, simple, simple. So all the tables, luckily, are dead simple. You'll find some really nice, kind of stylish end tables, which are actually kind of like metal frames with a wooden frame on top. I think in the next video, or like in a bit of a supplementary video, I might do like these metal frame, like right angle twisted metal kind of frames with a plate on top. Just show you how to do something like that. It's pretty simple, but it takes a little kind of a bit of know-how to do. But the general kind of idea is very simple. So cool. There you go. See you in the next one.